The Zardari Empire's third survey fleet entered the Gliese 581 sector with ceremony, arrogance, and a sensor net wider than some nations. 28 cruisers, 2 dreadnoughts, and a courier-class flagship moved in formation, their hulls glowing violet against the quiet dark. 3 minutes later, the fleet vanished. No explosions. No energy spikes. Not a ripple in subspace. One moment they existed on Imperial feeds. The next, empty silence. Confirmed, said the analyst, his tendrils twitching. We lost contact at 0402 standard. All telemetry ceased. No debris. No warp trails. The chamber buzzed with whispers. High Inquisitor Valax Kor stood motionless in the center of the conclave chamber. Behind his crimson armor and carved ivory crown, his eyes scanned the data holofields. He'd seen fleets die before. This wasn't that. He turned toward the gathered counselors, military elites, alien diplomats, and imperial bureaucrats dressed in gold-threaded robes. They didn't die, Valax said. They were erased. Hyperstorms? Offered a minister weakly. Valax dismissed it with a glance. The veil is a dead zone, yes. But not random. Not unknowable. A blue-scaled admiral leaned forward. You believe this was strategic? They knew we were watching, Valax replied, his voice low. They waited. The chamber fell still. Someone finally said it aloud. Humans? Valax turned slowly. You recall our first contact? 2 centuries ago? A few nodded. We dismissed them, he said. Left monitors. Drones. Watched for signs of industrial advancement. Saw nothing. But we weren't watching closely enough. They severed ties, went silent, and disappeared behind their swarm of satellites. One of the diplomats scoffed. They lacked even interstellar drive. Their own moon was barely colonized. Valax's eyes narrowed. Exactly. And that's why we never considered they might evolve beyond our gaze. He strode toward the holomap, expanding the sector data. Gliese 581 lit up, wrapped in an anomalous sphere of background radiation, subtle distortions that, until now, had been dismissed as sensor drift. We missed it because we thought they couldn't possibly matter, he said. That mistake just cost us 28 capital vessels. Silence. Then murmurs again. This time, uncertain. What is your proposal? Asked the Chancellor. Valax raised his head. A punitive fleet. We remind them their silence was not permission. We strike before they do. The motion passed without a vote. Admiral Riva Markov stood alone in the orbital canopy of the Throne of Glass, humanity's command citadel above Gliese 581c. The stars beyond were distorted, not by motion, but by design. A trillion nanosails bent light across the system, cloaking the entire Dyson swarm in a visual mirage. Even gravity here was curved to confuse interstellar mapping systems. From this vantage, Earth's place in the galaxy looked like an ember buried in frost. They're coming, said Andrus, the AI voice that lived in the crystalline walls. Riva didn't turn. Number? 22,000 ships. Hyperlane realignment indicates arrival in 5 standard days. She closed her eyes. Good. Andrus was quiet. Then softly, would you like to inform the council? No, she said. They trained for this. No need to wake them. Riva was 42, but she felt older. The scars from Earth's internal wars hadn't healed, only hidden behind armor and silence. After first contact, when the Zardari issued their declaration, submit, or remain irrelevant, humanity made a choice, vanish. While the galaxy watched bigger wars and larger empires, Earth shut off its beacons. Terraforming stopped. Migration ceased. No signals left Sol again. But beneath the silence, humanity built. Stealth engines. Cloaked factories the size of continents. Artificial minds trained to bend physics toward deception. They didn't want war. They wanted time. Time to become more. Andrus continued. The anomaly zones are stable. The sensor shadows hold. Riva nodded. And the Veiled Armada? Fully deployed? All formations holding under-gravity masks. The Atlas engine is dreaming. That gave her pause. What's it dreaming of? A sun, Andrus answered. One that forgives. Riva exhaled, then reached into the console, pulling up old records, grainy footage of that first contact transmission from the Empire. An Elder Zardari had addressed Earth like a parent scolding a dog. You are not advanced enough for membership. Your intellect is sufficient, but your behavior remains erratic. You will submit to integration or be restricted. She remembered her mother throwing a glass at the screen. That message sealed their fate. And their strategy. Let me guess, she said. The Empire still believes we're savages with radios and half-built ships. They will arrive with banners, Andrus confirmed. Speeches. Ultimatums. They expect insects, she whispered. Let's give them gods. Hours later, she stood in the war room. 8 human admirals flickered in via holographic link, each commanding a city-sized battleship hidden within the Dyson Veil. All fleets ready, said Admiral Kwan. Strike permission? Not yet, Riva replied. Respectfully, added Commander Aseri. Waiting risks soul? We're exposed. Deliberately, Riva said. They must see Earth. Know what they threaten. Silence, then nods. One admiral leaned forward. We still plan for containment? Riva met their gaze. Yes. We do not strike first. But we end it fast. Later, alone again, Riva sat before the stars. She remembered the AI wars on Earth. The cities reduced to bone and glass. The trillions of lost voices. Humanity had survived barely, but it had learned one lesson. Power was only useful if it was patient. Andrus returned. Would you like a projection? Of what? If you destroy them. She hesitated. Show me. A golden map unfolded, 50 simulations across the galactic rim. One outcome echoed through all: the collapse of the Empire. Mass rebellion. An age of chaos. And at the center of it all, Earth. Worshipped. Feared. Alone. Riva leaned back. So be it. She stood. Full readiness, she said. Let them come. The Zardari Armada arrived in formation, a shimmering wall of war. 22,000 ships, arranged in layers of dreadnoughts, cruisers, carriers, and escort wings. From the edge of the Gliese system, it looked like a second constellation had taken shape. They didn't slow down. We are within firing range, reported Vice Admiral Zelkin aboard the Sovereign Gauntlet, the fleet's flagship. No resistance. No signals. No targets. High Inquisitor Valax stood at the bridge's central podium, tall and still. Scan again. We have, 3 times. Nothing but asteroids and radiation haze. Valax stared into the tactical display, clean, perfect emptiness. That wasn't natural. It was too quiet. Humans didn't erase our scouts by accident, he said. They're watching us. Somewhere. Orders? Asked Zelkan. Valax narrowed his eyes. Advance. Launch recon probes in staggered bursts. Keep long-range turrets online. Ships peeled off from the main fleet in disciplined arcs, probes darting ahead like silver minnows. They scattered through asteroid fields, swept orbital lanes, scanned electromagnetic bands, and mapped gravitational contours. None returned. Within the hidden command nexus of the Throne of Glass, Riva watched in silence. Andrus narrated in a neutral tone. 312 probes neutralized. No fleet maneuver adjustments observed. They still think we're hiding, Riva murmured. They believe they're alone in the theater. She nodded slowly. Let's turn on the lights. The Empire's fleet reached the midpoint of the system. It was there that the illusion collapsed. Space itself shifted. Hundreds of warforms emerged from dark silence, massive constructs shaped like moons, hidden inside gravity wells and cloaking fields. Each one bristled with rail masses the size of skyscrapers, shield arrays embedded in kilometers of armor, and ion drives that hummed with eerie calm. But they didn't fire. They simply appeared, surrounding the fleet. Alarms screamed across the sovereign gauntlet. Unknown contacts, every vector. How many? Too many to count. Shields up. The Imperial formation began to collapse into defensive positioning. But it was too late. Humanity had already chosen its targets. The first strike came silently. A sphere of space around the rear command cruisers bent inward, then snapped back, crushing vessels like paper under a hammer. No explosions. Just ships turning to dust. Then came the black lances, narrow beams that tunneled through armor, igniting reactors without detonations. The center of the Empire's formation sagged. "What's happening?" screamed Zelkan. "Some kind of spatial weapon! They're warping the fabric itself." Valax stood rigid, watching the massacre unfold. "Fire everything! We have no targets! Fire anyway!" Imperial ships lit up the void with plasma torrents and missile clouds, but they struck nothing. The enemy's ships blinked in and out of detection, slipping between gravitational shadows. One dreadnought turned to flee. It never made it. A solid object, a black sphere the size of a mountain, slammed into it at half-light speed, reducing the vessel to sparks and silence. Inside the throne of glass, Riva watched the readouts dispassionately. 17% of the fleet neutralized, Andrus reported. "No casualties on our end." "Cease forward attack," Riva said. Andrus paused. "You're letting them retreat? They need to tell the galaxy what happened." The Empire's shattered fleet limped away, what was left of it. Thousands dead, many more drifting in life pods. No pursuit came. On board the Sovereign Gauntlet, Valax stood amid smoke and flickering lights, armor dented, blood on his brow. He looked at the wreckage on screen. His empire embarrassed. His command shattered. "Set course for the Imperial core," he said. "I need the conclave." They met in a sealed chamber of obsidian and gold. The council listened in stony silence as Valax detailed the massacre. Some didn't believe him. Planet-sized ships? Space bending? Are you suggesting the humans possess god tech? They were never primitives, Valax snapped. They played us. He activated a display, grainy footage from his flagship's black box. Ships cloaked in darkness, weapons that struck from impossible angles. Silence that killed. "If we don't act," Valax said, "they will rise. Not as an equal. As a dominator." A chancellor objected. "They didn't chase you. They didn't broadcast demands. They're waiting," Valax said. "They want us to provoke them further." "And your solution?" Valax raised a command shard from his robe. It glowed red. "The Black Halo Directive." The chamber gasped. "That's forbidden. Even for insurrections." "They are not rebelling," Valax said. "They are evolving. An evolution must be crushed before it overtakes the throne." Back in Gliese, Riva stood in her private chamber, staring at the vast star map projected before her. The system was returning to calm. Ships recloaked. Drones collected debris from the slaughter. But she didn't feel victory. She felt weight. Andrus spoke softly. "They will return. I know. They will bring something worse. I know that too." Andrus hesitated. "Do you regret showing them what we are?" Riva shook her head. "They needed to see. The galaxy needed to understand what comes from being ignored." She walked to the observation port. Earth was far, but its light reached even here. "We hid in the shadows long enough," she said. Andrus adjusted the star map. "Based on escape vectors, Inquisitor Valax survived." Riva's jaw tightened. "Then it's not over." In a distant system, High Inquisitor Valax stood in a war room of his own. Around him, engineers activated a spherical vessel, black, pulsing, ancient. The Black Halo. "We gave the humans a century of peace," he said. "They used it to become our executioners." He looked into the swirling core of the weapon. It hummed. "No more illusions. No more warnings." He turned to his lieutenants. Prepare to end Earth. Valax's fleet left a trail of warp space behind it as it surged through the outer systems. The damage from Gliese still marked his hull, scorched lines, melted armor, twisted plating, but his face showed none of it. He had a new weapon. The Black Halo wasn't designed for conquest. It was built to erase civilizations, to hollow out stars and collapse histories into silence. Even the Empire, drunk on control, had sealed it away. Until now. Inquisitor, said his second, a four-limbed tactician named Jorix. The device is armed. Trajectory set for Sol. Earth dies, Valax replied, before they understand what they've provoked. Back within the Dyson Veil, Rivas stared into a shifting map. Systems blinked red. Civilian trade routes were under blockade. Minor species had begun choosing sides, some quietly sending condolences to Earth, others cutting contact to appease the Empire. They're dividing the galaxy with fear, she said. Andrus hovered beside her, a softly glowing lattice of code. Or testing our patience. Riva nodded once. Have the colonies evacuated? All non-military assets cleared from Sol. Remaining fleets are in stealth orbit around Neptune and Mars. Riva closed the map. Prepare the Atlas engine. Few knew of it. Fewer had seen it. The Atlas engine drifted in the Oort cloud, colder than dark matter, still as death. At first glance, it resembled a planet, smooth, black, perfectly spherical. But it pulsed with thought. Inside, layers of quantum mindspace hummed with equations beyond comprehension. It didn't fire weapons. It rewrote the rules of engagement. It's waking, Andrus said. Riva stood before the projection of the machine. Across its surface, a million lights flickered like neurons. She's dreaming again. Dreaming of what? Riva hesitated. Possibility. On the other side of the stars, Valax launched his opening move. A remote colony in the Epsilon belt vanished, not bombed, not invaded. Every molecule was unraveled and swept into vacuum. A message was sent from the Black Halo's edge. You hid your teeth well. We sharpened ours longer. Submit now, or extinction becomes your anthem. Riva sat in the Veil's war chamber, the room lit only by the soft glow of live battle feeds. They've crossed a line, said Admiral Kwan. They never drew one, replied Commander Aseri. The admirals debated retaliation. Some demanded immediate use of the Atlas. Others feared the political shockwave. Riva listened in silence. Then she spoke. If we fire first, she said, we become them. And if we wait too long, they bury Earth under a black sun. Options? Asked Kwan. Minimal strike. Controlled. Target the Halo's propulsion systems. Disable, don't destroy. A beat of silence. You want mercy? I want control, Riva snapped. We win by proving we never wanted this war. Later, Riva stood alone at the transmission console. She opened a direct channel. Encrypted, narrowband, 1-to-1. To Valax? He answered. His face appeared, older, bruised, fierce. You dare speak after that ambush? He hissed. You dared underestimate a species, Riva said. And got blood for your arrogance. You hid behind shadows. You kill without warning. You sent 20,000 ships into a sovereign system. He sneered. This galaxy belongs to the Empire. Not anymore. Valax leaned forward. If you think some clever illusions and silent guns make you dominant. They don't, she said. But we built something that does. He paused. The engine? Yes. I've heard whispers. A thinking planet. Riva said nothing. He smiled, teeth bared. And what will your perfect mind do when it sees Earth consumed? What equations will it solve as your oceans boil? You'll never get close enough. We'll see. He cut the line. Andrus appeared. You know he'll strike Earth directly. I do. Shall I release the Atlas? Not yet. Let it speak to me first. Inside the engine, silence reigned. But Riva entered the mind space, digitally linked through a neural tether. She drifted through fractals of logic, vast rooms of suspended stars, and equations suspended like constellations. The core glowed, a thought trying to form. A voice echoed through her mind. Do you want me to break the galaxy? She stood still. I want to protect humanity. Then I will remove its threats. No, she whispered. That's not the way. The lights shifted. The mind reshaped itself into her image, faceless, tall, draped in midnight. Then define the way. Not through fear. Not through fire. Make them see, not burn. The figure stared. Then it bowed. At Neptune's edge, human stealth fleets unwrapped from their cloaks. They shimmered like ghosts across frozen orbits, gliding into formation. The Atlas engine began to drift inward, slow and deliberate. Its gravitational field bent light across the system. Valak's scouts finally caught a glimpse. A world, not made of rock or fire, but logic. Moving. The engine approaches, Jorix reported. Valax narrowed his eyes. And? Our scans are inconclusive. We can't detect energy signatures. It's bending the field around itself. He stepped toward the viewport. Then it's time we tested its mind. He gave the order. The black halo launched. Riva saw it. A swirling sphere, not light, but void. A weapon built not to kill, but to erase. Andra spoke. Contact in 2 minutes. We cannot outmaneuver it. Only counter. Riva stood tall. Activate Atlas. Send the override. A pulse surged outward from the engine, soundless, bright. It passed through the system like a wave. The laws of motion shifted. Missiles reversed. Time stretched around the halo's trajectory. The halo blinked, its path destabilized. Matter inside it spun, lost cohesion, then folded into itself like collapsing paper. Silence. The black halo was no more. Across the Empire, thousands watched the feed. Not official transmissions, but leaked footage. Raw, terrifying. They saw the moment power changed hands. They saw the galaxy blink. On the throne of glass, Riva turned away from the screen. Her jaw clenched. Andras asked, Would you like me to prepare Earth for a message? She nodded. Yes. To say what? Riva exhaled. That we're still here. And we don't need to conquer. But we will not kneel. Earth had never been so quiet. Across cities and spaceports, colony domes and orbital rings, people watched the stars, waiting. Children held their breath under titanium skies. Soldiers stayed at posts without orders. No sirens. No parades. Just silence. In orbit, hidden behind the gas giant Jupiter, the throne of glass floated like a cathedral of steel and light. Inside, Admiral Riva Markov stood before the display wall, her eyes fixed on a growing red arc. They're coming again, she said. Anders replied without emotion. Last wave. The core fleet. If Valax fails now, the Empire loses its grip. How many ships? 50,000. She said nothing for a moment. Then, Atlas? Fully primed. Awaiting final protocol. Riva turned to her staff. Admirals, commanders, and data tacticians, all watching her. This is it, she said. No second strike. No revenge pass. We end it here, clean. Valax's flagship pierced Soul's Edge in a glare of flame. His ships followed, countless hulls, shadows on fire. They've committed everything, said Jorix beside him. They don't expect to return, Valax said. He was gone now. Fury had eaten the last of his nobility. His robes were tattered. His voice carried nothing but intent. Focus the fleet on Earth, he commanded. If we fall on their home. Understood. Riva launched no warning. No declarations. No banners. The Atlas engine moved into full view for the first time. The Zardari fleet halted. It wasn't just big, it was unnatural. A sphere of impossible depth, with shifting continents of polished logic and light. Not a ship. Not a station. Something other. Inside, its quantum brain spun, not to target, but to redefine the battlefield. Andrus spoke quietly. Shall I begin? Riva nodded. Let it show them the cost of arrogance. The Atlas engine pulsed. First, it bent inertia. Missiles reversed direction mid-flight. Kinetic slugs curved away before impact. Then, it silenced fusion. Enemy reactors stalled. Ships drifted, weapons dying in their mounts. Finally it spoke. A frequency. Carried on nothing. Not sound. Not signal. Just presence. Across every ship in Valix's armada, the message echoed. You are not in control. And then, ship shut down. In the chaos, Valax roared. Override! Bypass the dampening! Fire manually! No response. His officers stared at unresponsive controls. Weapons refused to obey. Engines refused to burn. Jorix turned to him. We're not in a war. We're in a lesson. Valax pulled his ceremonial blade and drove it through the console. Sparks flew. Nothing changed. Back on the throne of glass, Riva stood unmoved. They're defeated. 87% fleet incapacitation. Andrus confirmed. Remaining vessels have disengaged or gone silent. Riva issued one final command. Send message to every system. Every species. Every channel. Andrus complied. The transmission was simple. Riva's face appeared in grayscale, against a dark background. No weapons behind her. No flags. Just her voice. Humanity doesn't seek conquest. We didn't ask for war. But we will never kneel again. We do not forgive erasure. We do not forget silence. We do not vanish. We are here. Galactic Council worlds watched in stunned silence. On distant colonies ruled by Zardari warlords, rebellions ignited within days. Dozens of minor species transmitted formal recognition of Earth's sovereignty. Others begged for alliance. And the Empire? It cracked. Not all at once, but visibly. Systems refused orders. Fleets defected. The myth of Zardari dominance had fractured in one battle, without a single human invading a single planet. Just presence. Valax was captured days later, dragged from the ruins of his flagship by his own officers. He was given no trial. He simply vanished from the record. Weeks passed. Humanity didn't move outward. No new wars. No fleets launched into the heart of the Empire. The Atlas engine returned to sleep. Peace didn't spread immediately. But the rules had changed. And everyone knew it. In a small chamber aboard the throne of glass, Riva sat before a chessboard. She moved a knight forward. Across from her, a young cadet hesitated, studying the move. You're setting a trap, the cadet said. Riva smiled faintly. Not everything's a trap. Sometimes it's just pressure. The cadet countered, sacrificing a bishop. Riva blinked, then nodded. Well played. Later, she walked alone to the observation deck. Earth hung in the distance, bright, battered, breathing. Andrus broke the silence. Reports from the Edge systems say the Conclave is in chaos. We expected that. They want talks. A summit. Do they offer peace? No. Just curiosity. They want to understand us now. Riva folded her arms. Let them wonder. Let them come asking. Outside the viewing window, a new fleet orbited quietly. Not for invasion. Not for conquest. Just readiness. Humanity, unseen for 200 years, now stood in plain view. And the stars were watching.